Hey, what is going on, guys? It's DK. Back at you with another video here to bring the 9-game NBA main slate on Friday. Before I get into the video, if you guys are new to the channel, my name's DK. I make daily videos and live stream for NBA and NFL slates on Draftkings, and I'm now making videos for the NBA Top Shot, which are basically virtual trading cards, virtual moments. Gonna have a video up probably this weekend about a purchase I just made, an Anthony Davis Series 1. I thought he was undervalued. Again, I'll talk about that more in that video, so be on the lookout for that probably this weekend. If you guys cannot watch these YouTube videos, I also upload an Apple Podcast. I have a link in the description below. It's called the DKDFS Show. If you guys are interested in signing up for premium content, I offer that on patreon.com. Esports, we got Call of Duty, we got CSGO, basically every single day this week, and then NBA as well. And then finally, I want to thank Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring the show. If you guys are not familiar with Underdog, or maybe this is your first time watching, well, Underdog Fantasy, they have daily fantasy snake drafts as well as season-long best ball. So I know a lot of you guys love best ball. They have NBA best ball. Again, they got daily fantasy snake drafts as well. So if you guys want to sign up, or after you guys sign up and make your first deposit, you can use the code DKDFS, DKDFS, all one word, for a money-back guarantee up to $100. But yeah, with that out of the way, let's jump into the video. So before I talk about players and the prices for this 9-game slate, we can look back mine up here from Thursday. Thursday got a little bit tilted about a blowout. Plus, I think I made a mistake for value. There were some questionable value plays that I was considering, but yeah, we can go over my lineup here. So James Harden, Derrick Rose, Richardson, Denny, Boban, Emmanuel Quickley, Giannis, and Zion Williamson. Here I can move out of the way so you guys can see. But yeah, once we got that Boban starting news, I made him a core. I was like, hey, he's too good of a value. He's too good of a point per minute guy. I'm like, he's starting. I think we get at least 15 minutes from him. Harden, that's where I'm really upset. Really, really tilted about, because he had, I think, 35 at half, was on pace for a massive game, and Orlando just does nothing in the second half. They get blown out. It was a 9-point spread, so it's like, sure, I had that in the back of my mind. But also Denver and Washington was a similar spread. And, of course, Washington keeps it close. So Chalk Jokic goes off. I was just like, oh. So frustrating with the blowout. But, again, that stuff can happen. I used both Knicks guards. Mentioned that in the Patreon that I was doing that with Rose and Emmanuel Quickley. Like them both for value. So I pivoted. I had Al-Farouq Amino and Pat Connaughton here. Pivoted to J. Rich and Denny. Denny was a questionable guy that I was like, should I really be playing him? I just needed someone super cheap. I wanted the J. Rich revenge. Didn't really work out because Dallas got blown out as well. And then Denny, I was hoping he would get more minutes. But again, he's so reliant on the scoring. That was one where I was like, yeah, I might have made a mistake going there. But yeah, and then I went with Giannis and Zion for spend ups in the late game, because I really like that game. With it's on pace for probably at least over 250 points total. So that's it for the look back. Oh, I do want to mention too, always keep on top of news. If we would have got that Bobby Portis starting news before this Washington Wizards game started, I would have got him in, because again, he's a good point per minute guy. And once we got news that he was starting, he's just a great point per minute guy. So it's like, you got to keep an eye on that stuff. There's always possibilities that like something weird can happen like that. Again, we got DJ Augustine surprise scratch, and then Bobby Portis goes from like just a risky GBP play to one of the better value plays if you could get him in. Now again, this game locked, and I only had Zion and Giannis left, and I wasn't going to leave salary on the table. So yeah, I guess always keep on top of that stuff. But all right, enough of talking about last slate. Let's talk about this slate. We have 6 games out so far. Houston and Toronto at 220 over under. The Raptors are 7-point favorites. Pacers and Celtics at 219 over under. The Celtics are 3-point favorites. Suns, Bulls 228.5 over under. The Suns are 5.5-point favorites. Kings and Pistons at 224 over under. The Kings are 1-point favorites. Hornets and Warriors at 233 over under. The Warriors are 6-point favorites. And Blazers, Lakers 222 over under. The Lakers are 5.5-point favorites. So we'll start off with the Pacers and the Celtics. Sabonis at 10-4. it just seems a little bit too pricey still for him. You guys know I'm a massive Domantas Sabonis fan, but I don't know if I can pay 10-4 for him against the Celtics. Brogdon at 8-1, I think is a little bit more doable, but still, again, don't love the matchup for him. Value-wise for the Pacers, there's really not a ton I like here. So, honestly, the Pacers are probably going to be a team I stay away from on the slate. On the Boston side, well, we know after Tatum and Brown were both chalk and were huge letdowns last slate that they're both going to go off. You guys just know what's going to happen. Kemba Walker is back, so Kemba should shift back in the starting role, should play 35-ish minutes. I think he's actually a decent play at this price point. He's been a little bit up and down, but he's got 40-plus fantasy point upside when he's hitting his shots. Again, Brown and Tatum, against the Pacers, I don't love this spot either for either of them. But again, they're both going to just have massive games after they were chalk busts last slate. Looking at the bigs, I do want to talk about this. Daniel Tice only played 11 minutes last game. So I'm not super interested in Tice, but that's a boost to Tristan Thompson, who played 26 minutes. If they're going to start giving these minutes to Tristan Thompson over Daniel Tice, then I think Thompson's actually an okay value play. We know this Pacers team is a big team too. So yeah, I have some interest in Tristan Thompson. You can always go to a guy like Robert Williams. The minutes are never secure for him. I don't love the price either. So it's strictly just like a long shot GBP play. I'm moving on to Houston and Toronto. So Houston getting more healthy besides Christian Wood. Oladipo, Eric Gordon back. I don't love the price there on John Wall. Again, Oladipo at 7-4. I think looks a little bit better, but still don't love it. I'm not really going to pay 6-2 for Eric Gordon. And then these value guys are kind of priced up for when a lot of the Houston guys were out. I will mention Patton is like they're big off the bench, but I don't think he plays more than like 10 to 15 minutes. So honestly, there's really not a lot I like here for Houston. Like PJ Tucker will play some minutes. Again, he's so low usage. I just will never play PJ Tucker. Moving on to the Toronto Raptors. So mentioned Lowry was my favorite play last slate of the main Toronto guys because he's the cheapest. He had 50 fantasy points. Again, he is the cheapest by far compared to those other two. He's at 7K. Siakam 7.9. Van Fleet at 8.3. All three of these Raptors guys have been up and down when they're all healthy. It's a little bit hard to predict. So again, whenever I'm just going to go with whoever the cheapest is. The cheapest is Lowry. He's my favorite of the top three there. Powell at 6'4", no thanks. This is a smaller Houston team, so maybe Chris Boucher gets extended a little bit more at the 5. Again, they could just go Pascal Siakam at the 5. I mean, that's what they've been using in the starting lineup. So, yeah, he's viable for tournaments. Again, the minutes always fluctuate with him, which makes him a good GP play because when the minutes are there, he's very, very productive. OG Anunoby did see 36 minutes that last game. I actually think he's an okay play at this price if he's going to continue to play mid-30s minutes. But that's really it. Not really interested in any of the value for Toronto. Moving on to Phoenix and Chicago. So love the spot here for the Phoenix Suns. Booker, Paul, Ayton, I think are all pretty solid plays. I love targeting bigs against the Bulls, so I think DeAndre Ayton is a good tournament play. Not really a cash game play because he kind of is up and down, even in good matchups. Chris Paul, 7-5, 1 for 50 fantasy points at last game against Charlotte. In games that have been competitive, he's been really solid. And again, this is a fantastic matchup. I think Chris Paul is actually a pretty good play there in the mid-range. Devin Booker, the all-star snub narrative, if you're into that, he was had a nice shooting game last game. Both Chris Paul in the lineup, the assist, the peripherals go down for him, which makes him a little bit riskier. Value-wise, not a ton of love here. Bridges, Crowder, yeah. Now, Dario Saric is questionable. If he's out, that might mean more minutes for a guy like Frank Kaminsky. Maybe instead of like 10 to 15, he plays 20-ish. So, like, yeah, you can take a shot at him for tournaments if there is no Dario Saric. And then Cam Johnson got extended a bit. Did play 30 minutes out last game. Again, the minutes have been up and down for him as well. So I think he's viable at this price point because of the matchup. But again, there's no guaranteed minutes for him if you're just looking at the last 4 games. All right, moving on to Chicago. Zach LaVine for tournaments, but that's about it. Again, I don't really love this price for a cash game setting. Kobe White looks a little bit more doable at 6'4". He's been playing, 30 to 35 minutes. He's probably their number 2 in the offense right now. He's been playing better of late, been stuffing the stat sheet a little bit better. So I think Kobe White's a decent play in the mid-range. Wendell Carter Jr. at 5.9K. If he can stay out of foul trouble, probably plays about 30 minutes. I think he's a decent tournament play. Other than that, though, there's really not a lot else I like here for Chicago. Moving on to Sacramento and Detroit. So, I'm tilted about this because I've played De'Aaron Fox a lot recently. Finally got off him tonight because, the Knicks have been really good defensively. Sure enough, that game, 140 to 121, and Fox goes for over 50 fantasy points. Oh, so tilting. But price didn't move. It actually dropped $100. This is a great matchup. I really like De'Aaron Fox at this price. One of my favorite plays of the slate, Tyrese Halliburton at 6.6K. also, I think is in play, more of a tournament play though. And he had previous 2 games before the last one, 48 and 52 fantasy points. So yeah, don't love the price. Kind of came back down to earth a little bit, but if you want to stack this game, you can definitely do like De'Aaron Fox and Halliburton and run it back with someone in Detroit. I'm fine with that. Now the bigs here for Sacramento, if there's no Hassan Whiteside, then Bagley and Holmes both look pretty decent. Bagley was playing the backup 5, was in some foul trouble, was actually on pace for a nice game. If there's no Whiteside, I think he's a viable tournament play. And then Rashawn Holmes at 5.9K played 28 minutes. I'm expecting similar minutes for him. So do like both bigs, more suited for tournaments. Buddy Hield, Harrison Barnes. I mean, the pricing is coming down on these guys. Barnes has flash him upside, but he also has a somewhat low floor. And I think this game stack is definitely viable because Sacramento ran an 8-man rotation that last game. On the Detroit side, Jeremy Grant is back at 7-3. Love the matchup here. You guys know I love targeting players against this Kings team, so I like him a good amount at that price point. I know he's been a little bit up and down. I really like Mason Plumlee too. Should play about 30 minutes. A guy that can stuff a stat sheet. Does have, honestly, triple-double upside. So like Grant, like Mason Plumlee, a good amount here. DeLon Wright's still out. Sadiq Bey, questionable too. If he's out, Josh Jackson probably gets a slight boost. And I'm curious, they kind of like bring Josh Jackson off the bench. I wonder like who starts for him. Maybe it's Svi Mikhailuk. Maybe Sekou, we'll see. Sadiq Bey, if he plays, just more of a secondary play. I would rather get to those other Pistons guys I mentioned. And then Dennis Smith Jr. actually got extended a bit that last game. He played well. You can go there in tournaments, but I think I still prefer the price in Saban Lee. And the minutes went down in Saban Lee. Definitely wouldn't play both these guys together. There's negative correlation. Don't really think they're going to be out on the court together a whole lot, if at all. So if you're playing Dennis Smith Jr., do not play Saban Lee. If you're playing Saban Lee, do not play Dennis Smith Jr. So the minutes trended down for Saban Lee. Only played 22 because Dennis Smith Jr. played well, but he still had 28 fantasy points in that time. So I still have some interest in Saban Lee for value. And then if Sadiq Bey is out, we can consider maybe whoever starts. Like Svi Mikhailuk, I never like playing this guy because he's super reliant on the scoring, but like almost min price if he starts would be a doable or would be a viable play. Clippers and Grizzlies. So we just saw this game tonight. Kawhi 9-1, Paul George 8-6. I think they're both pretty solid plays. Both seem a little bit too cheap. If this game does stay close, they should play 35 plus minutes. So I think that both guys are solid options. Everyone else though kind of priced up from when those guys were out. Ibaka is down to 4.8. Him and Zubac are going to split the center minutes. So I think that's like an okay price actually. Again, Zubac off the bench probably plays around 20 minutes. You can take a shot on one of those Clipper centers if you want to, but nothing else really stands out to me. On the Memphis side, I do actually like John Moran a good amount at 7-1. Again, this game was a blowout, only played 30 minutes. In close games, we should get about 35 minutes from him. So do like him for tournaments. Jonas Valanciunas at 6.8K. Again, should play about 30 minutes. He's in close games, really good point per minute guy. So I like both the main Grizzlies guys. Probably prefer Ja to JV. Other than that, not a ton else I love here. Value-wise, Winslow at 3.7. What do you play? 21 minutes. I guess he's like a fine value play. But there's just a lot of guys playing like 15 to 20-ish minutes. No one really stands out for me. And we do have Dylan Brooks back as well. On the Utah side, Utah and Miami, so two pretty solid defensive teams. Donovan Mitchell at 8.5 just seems a little bit too pricey with Mike Conley being back. Rudy Gobert at 7.2 just seems priced about right. Now, Conley himself at 6.1 should play close to 30 minutes. I think he's the guy that I like the best for the Utah Jazz. Clarkson off the bench has been playing really solid. Again, the minutes aren't as high with Conley in, like probably mid-20s minutes. You can take a shot at him for GBPs, but again, I don't love the price there. I will always mention Derek Favors because he's going to play somewhere around 15 to 17 minutes. He's a good point per minute guy. I think he's a viable cheap play if you need someone really inexpensive. Miami, so the big news here is Bam Adebayo is questionable at 9K. This changes the slate. If Bam Adebayo is out, I'm curious to see what the Heat do with the starting lineup. Do they move Kaleo to the 5? Or maybe they move Precious Achiuwa into the starting lineup at the flat min price. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. If Bam is out, I really like Achiuwa. I really like Kaleo. They would be two of the best value plays of the slate, even in this matchup. We'll just have to see what they do with the starting lineup if there's no Bam Adebayo. We also have Tyler Hero questionable. If Tyler Hero's out, that pretty much secures the minutes for a guy like Kendrick Nunn. Even with Dragic back, he played 36 minutes. And then Dragic himself at 5.2 played 21 minutes off the bench. They kind of limited him in his first game back for a couple weeks. But yeah, if there's no Hero, both those guards would be doable. And then Jimmy Butler, if there's no Bam, He's going to be clearly the number one option in offense. He has been fantastic recently too. Stuff in the stat sheet. So I think Jimmy, even this matchup, if Bam's out, would have some interest in him at the top. If Bam and Hero are both in, then Miami's probably a team I'm going to stay away from. All right, last 3 games, Atlanta and OKC. Like this game. I think this game has a lot of potential for a stack. Trae Young at 9-9 in tournaments. Really do like him. He's gone for over 50 fantasy points the last 5 games. Love the matchup here, so do like Trae a good amount. Capella at 7-8. With Collins healthy, I think it's just a subpar play. Gallinari got hot. I mean, this guy, what did he shoot? 13 of 16, 10 of 12 from 3. Went for 55 fantasy points. It is a revenge game, but he also, the previous game, 6 fantasy points in 23 minutes. So very, very light in the scoring, which makes him a riskier play. Moving on to OKC. So SGA was huge for me last slate. Went for 61 fantasy points. He is, again, their clear number one option. I love the matchup here, and he's going to play 35-plus minutes in a close game. So I do like SGA for tournaments. I think he will go a little bit overlooked. Now, Al Horford is out. We also have Diallo out. So Horford out, I assume Isaiah Roby is going to start. I'm guessing we get somewhere around 25 to 30 minutes from him. I think he's a decent value. And Mike Muscala should play the backup center at 3.6K. I'm guessing we could probably get around 15 to 20 minutes. I have interest in both those value bigs for the OKC Thunder. With Diallo out, what does that mean? Maybe a few extra minutes for a guy like Maladon, a low usage guy, but the minutes have been there. I think he's like okay value play. Maybe a couple extra minutes for a guy like Kenrich Williams at 3.5, who's been hovering around like 18-ish minutes. Maybe he plays over 20. So those guys would be a little bit, do get a slight boost. All right, Charlotte and Golden State. Another game I like to stack here for tournaments. LaMelo Ball at 8-7 with no Devontae Graham. I think it's a good tournament play. Now, the first half, I think he only played 12 minutes in the first half. Second half, he played a lot more. Again, like the matchup here against Golden State. I know he was not great in that last game against the Warriors, only 25 fantasy points, but I think he's a good tournament play. Minutes have been fluctuating for him, which does not make him a cash game play. No thank you, Rozier at that price. Gordon Hayward is a subpar play there. We got to keep an eye on Cody Zeller. He is currently questionable. If Cody Zeller's out, I assume Bismack Biyombo starts. If Biyombo starts at center, I think he's a good value play at 3.3K. Would probably get mid-20s minutes. And then Peter Washington would run more of the small ball 5. So that would be a slight boost to him. I know he's been up and down, so I have to keep an eye on that Cody Zeller news. Not really interested in Malik Monk. I know the big game last game, but I'll pass over 5K. On the Golden State side, Steph Curry below 10K against the Charlotte Hornets, I think looks like a pretty good spend up. Now, can I pull the trigger on him in cash games? I'm not sure. We've seen some low floor games from Steph, but again, I love the spot here, and I do like Draymond Green a good amount too. He is playing big minutes, even with Wiseman, even with Looney healthy, 37, 36 minutes. A guy that can stuff the stat sheet. Has triple-double upside. Again, love the spot here. So Steph and Draymond, I do like a good amount. Oubre, Wiggins, secondary options for me. Wiseman, I'm going to continue to pass until the minutes go up a bit. And then finally, value, Looney has been starting and playing about 15 to 20 minutes. If he starts again, yeah, he's playable at the flat min. Last game here, Portland and the Lakers. So Damian Lillard, he seems to always come alive in the big games, against the LA Lakers. I could see him having a massive game here. So I do like him a good amount here at 10.1K. And they're clear number one option with no CJ, with no Nurkic. Don't mind Cantor for tournaments. Wings, Covington, Trent, Jones Jr. Melo's probably the guy for me at 4.8. Did play over 30 minutes the last game. I'm expecting somewhere around 25 to 30. I think he's a decent value play at that price point. Other than that, there's not really a ton else I love here for the Portland side. Let's finish up with the LA Lakers. So a good matchup here. LeBron James at 10-7, I think is a safe spend up with some upside. Again, love the matchup here. Kyle Kuzma at 6.3. That's a little bit more doable of a price. So, I have some interest in him because of the matchup. I think he probably starts and plays low to mid 30s minutes. Montrezl Harrell 6K, just not seeing more than like 22, 24 minutes, which makes him more of just a tournament play. Dennis Schroeder at 5'9", looks like he will be back, so that kind of takes the value out of play for the LA Lakers, like those value guards. Schroeder himself, I think is, again, like fine option, but not a priority. Again, I do like the matchup, but with him being back, kind of just takes these value guards out of play for me. Markieff Morris is at 3-1. I do want to mention he started that last game. If he starts again, I think he's a decent value play. So to keep an eye on that one. If Markieff Morris starts, I would like him for value. But yeah, that's really going to do it for the team-by-team breakdown, guys. I think that's going to do it for the video as well. So if you have been enjoying the content so far, I would really appreciate if you leave a like button on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you don't upload videos you don't go live. I will be doing a YouTube live stream before lock tomorrow to go over everything, answer all you guys' questions. And let's aim for 200 likes on this video, guys. So thanks again. Have a great night, and I'll see you all tomorrow.